What's the global trend of using solar energy to produce electricity?
The technology itself actually has been around for a long time, but has not been very cost effective. And the earlier effort on producing electricity from solar actually focused on solar thermal technology, and you can find those projects in US, Nevada area. Those tend to be less efficient, and as technology improve, adopting from some of the solar PV photovoltaic technology, the efficiency has increased and the cost have came down a lot. And starting with Europe, really putting a lot of those solar panel on rooftop basis. And as the economic of the project becomes more viable with the government subsidy, there's been larger, what we call large-scale project developed in Spain and Germany in the last decade.
Which countries are leaders in the field of energy, solar energy use?
In terms of use of the solar energy, Germany has always been the leader. They're the first, one of the earlier government to use the feed-in tariff mechanism. And has been very steady in the deployment, despite the fact that in terms of the resources, solar resources in Germany is actually not as favorable as in some other country. But as a result of their leadership, the solar industry and technology of German company are also at the forefront, and they benefit that as the other countries start picking up on this. Spain, and more recently in Asia, Thailand and Japan. So it's in fact, it's in terms of Asia, Thailand is one of the earliest to adopt this subsidy to produce solar electricity back in 2006. And throughout this period, the government have been very supportive of renewable alternative energy project, whether it's solar, wind, biomass. So Thailand has truly been the leader. And more recently, India and China has started to do this partly from the perspective of supporting their own technology manufacturer.
What are the benefits and shortfalls of using solar energy to produce electricity?
Well, that depends on the user. If you're a small home user, then you do have a very high upfront investment and trying to maintain the system. At the same time, you want to make sure you're connected to the regular grid for reliability in case the weather condition is not so good. But in terms of if you're a large user of like a factory, then it could really help cut down on your expensive for electricity. And in certain countries, there's actually a system where if you produce more energy than you consume, you can actually sell it back to grid. It's called net metering. For environmental perspective, there's actually not very many negative. One issue perhaps is maybe displacement of the land if it were intended for agricultural use. But I think in a lot of countries, there's plenty of land that are available to be deployed for solar farm. And there's no noise, no pollution coming, and no effluent coming from solar farm. So in terms of environmental impact, it's actually considered to be one of the least most minimal in producing electricity. And benefit, of course, is you just get a lot of energy without procuring expensive fossil fuel from overseas, like coal or gas. And energy independence has been an issue with a lot of countries, such as Thailand, where part of the energy is dependent on the gas importer from overseas with the hydro project from Laos and so forth. So one of the benefits would be independence because the sun will always shine and your costs in the long run will be recovered.
Compared to other types of fuel use like coal or gas in producing electricity, I'm talking about big electricity production. Solar farm is much more expensive in terms of cost. Is that right?
Yes, that's definitely correct. As with any new technology, the initial cost will be much higher. In terms of per kilowatt hour basis, it'd be considered about 3 times higher than other thermal means of producing energy. However, one thing is with the technology developing, the cost of these equipment will come down. For example, with wind project, initially they were also multiple times higher than fossil fuel project, but as the cost of these equipment come down, in a lot of countries, wind projects are actually considered at grid parity, meaning that the cost of production is the same as from the average cost of production of electricity from fossil plant. So I think in the long run, solar should also, cost of production for solar projects should also come down to close to grid parity level eventually.
Looking into the future, do you expect the solar farm industry to grow even further in Thailand?
Well, I think there will still be growth, but I think eventually the good location will run out, and as a result, it will sort of taper off the growth. But I do foresee the growth for the next 5 to 10 years.
พลังงานแสงอาทิตย์เป็นทางเลือกหนึ่งที่น่าสนใจนะคะแต่ไม่ว่าจะใช้พลังงานแสงอาทิตย์หรือว่าพลังงานจากแหล่งไหนเชื้อเพลิงอะไรก็ตามในการผลิตไฟฟ้าถ้าเราไม่ช่วยกันประหยัดการใช้ไฟฟ้ายังไงก็ผลิตไม่พอใช้ค่ะเพราะฉะนั้นต้องช่วยกันเริ่มตั้งแต่วันนี้ประหยัดการใช้พลังงานเพื่ออนาคตของประเทศชาติของเราเองค่ะพบกันใหม่สัปดาห์หน้านะคะวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ